Hello, Beep Baseball World. I can't say we because it's just me, but I, Neil D-A-W-G, am back with a new episode. And I've got a big, fun group from the Austin Blackhawks with us. I will introduce in a second. I usually release the show on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, but I'm going to release the show this week. Well, I guess if anybody's listening, you already know it's been released, but I've released the show this week a little bit early because for anybody that has the app Clubhouse, there is now a Beepball Nation group on Clubhouse, and they are hosting an event Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern when I normally release the show. So I've put it out a little bit early so that people can jump over there and check out the event on Clubhouse. After checking out this great show, as I said, we have the Austin Blackhawks with us. We have their head coach, John O. Fleming, his better half, Money Molly Fleming. We'll be talking to her about spotting throughout the show. We have Mariano Reynoso, and we also have Wayne-Dayne, the Colonel Sibson, with us. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Mariano and Wayne, are either of you like a captain or anything at this point in time? Are you just dead weight on the team completely, Wayne? Is there any role you have on the team now, Wayne?
I hold down the bench well.
He's really good at the bases during practice. So.
I was going to ask you, Coach. Yeah,
on the tournament too.
I was going to ask you, Coach, if you get any use out of him at practice whatsoever, or if he just shows up because he's got the last name Sibson. But I'm glad to hear that you are actually putting him to work.
He holds Jamie's water.
Yeah, that was the other part of the question. Does he do anything helpful other than irritate Jamie at practice?
He irritates all of us.
Well, Wayne's been a friend of mine. I've called him a friend for over 30 years now. I've talked about it recently on the show that I like when I started out playing beat baseball in the 80s, California had a really strong group of good teams and a lot of players, and I kind of that was my comfort zone, even at the World Series, kind of sticking around the California people. But Wayne Sibson and Jim Wolf were two of the first people I ventured out and developed friends with around the nation. So I'm always gonna have a warm spot for you, Wayne-Dayner.
You play for North Bay?
I started out with North Bay, the first 3 years, 87 through 89. And that 89 was the last tournament North Bay ever played in. And then Eric and I, or as Molly puts it, E10 and I left North Bay and joined up with the Blaze until we started the Dogs a few years later down the road. So I played for both of them. Proud to say that's how my roots started out. So let's dive into the Blackhawks. I want to start out with you, Coach John O. Fleming. I'm curious to know, because the Austin Blackhawks, they're they actually are the most storied franchise in the history of the Beat Baseball World Series. How did you end up the head coach of the Hawks?
So I think it was about 2008 or 9. Kenny, the catcher, we worked together at an engineering firm here in Austin, and you guys, the Dogs, were actually coming to scrimmage the Hawks.
We used to
09. Yeah, 09, and Kenny said there was free barbecue, so I showed up, and you guys were playing and didn't look like they had enough help. So I asked Kenny what I could do, and he put me down there at the base and told me to throw my hands up when somebody hit that base. And so I did that all day. I left looking like a lobster, and asked when I could come out and help again, and I've been pretty much on the team ever since. Took a couple of years to get me to go to a series. I think 2011 Indy was my first series that I attended.
Mm-hmm.
And after that season, I guess my dedication or maybe I was just the easy target, but they voted me on as head coach, and I've been head coach ever since and love it and enjoy every minute of working with this team and trying to make the younger folks better and the older folks, try to keep them moving
keep
around.
Them alive.
Yeah, keep them alive, keep them moving
Make
around.
them last.
But, with Kevin, he was living in San Antonio. And so I took, kind of a big interest in defense. So that's kind of where I started, was spotting and defensively. And then with Tim being in Oklahoma, that's why the Hawks I feel like we have such good defense, because we don't practice offense every practice. We do a lot of defense. So
I'm going to dive into this more later with Wayne, but honestly, that's how the original Dogs, going back before your time, became such a dominant defensive team, because we had to. We literally, from 94 to 2003, rarely knew who our pitcher was going to be from year to year. And when we brought Greg in, like he was a friend of mine that we started out together here in California, but by then he was living in North Carolina. So even when Greg was committed, he wasn't here practicing with us. So you nailed it on the head. That's when you get good on defense, when that's all you got to do at practice.
For sure. So, and that's the part of the game I love. I love defense, and I like working with Danny and those guys when we were coming up with new like layouts for the defense and stuff. So I think just showing that interest is what kind of triggered Kevin and the team kind of deciding that maybe I should be the head coach. After that first year.
And you and Molly spot together, right? You're both the spotters for the team?
Yeah, we have for sure spotted together there for a little bit. We're kind of the main spotters there for a couple seasons, I guess. But we've got a lot of volunteers. We're lucky. We've got Kenny's wife, Holly Whittier. She spots. She's really good. We've got new person, Bree Taylor. She's been to a series and a couple tournaments, I think, and she's catching on real quick and does really good. So we're enjoying being able to get some breaks and getting some other folks involved.
I don't know Holly, but whenever there's like a poll, or not even a poll, like Terry Smoka a lot in Beepball Nation will play little games, whatever, put little things out there that that we're supposed to have funny responses to, and Holly's responses always make me laugh. I don't know her from Adam, and she doesn't know me, but I remember her name because she makes me laugh with her answers. So
yeah, Kenny and Holly are great, man. They're both really funny and just great folks.
Awesome. Sure. So Molly, there's a few things I want to dive into with you. First, in addition to being a member of the Austin Blackhawks and being a spotter that got named Money Molly, which is like as good as high a compliment as you can be paid, in my opinion. But you also are involved with the women of our league, and I believe you do pitching, coaching, spotting, a little bit of everything for the Southwest Bombshells. Is that correct?
That is correct. I basically spot for the Blackhawks and then do whatever else kind of needs to be done. But for the Southwest Bombshells, for sure, I coach, I pitch, I catch. I don't spot as much. We do have people that kind of do that, like Cameron Sibson and Lauren Whittier. They help spot, and then Holly Whittier also spots. And then Jordan's come out a couple of times and helped spot too, Sibson. But yeah, I kind of do whatever I need to do.
If you're coaching the Bombshells, how come Faith never gets any better? I've got to put that on
you.
Awesome. Y'all be ready for Faith this year, man.
Yeah.
She's been working hard through COVID.
Yeah, she looks good.
We're excited. Yeah.
Actually, I say that because I don't know. One of my new favorite pastimes is irritating Faith, getting under her skin.
Everybody's favorite thing. I'm one of the people that doesn't irritate Faith. So.
But I know that.
Was a button.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Wayne talking. Sounded almost the same. But actually, I know Faith's been working with like Zach Arambula of the Jets. Like he's been helping her with her workouts, and she's really happy with where she's coming from. And one of the ways I like to get under her skin, I mentioned that there's something coming up on Clubhouse. I like to spread rumors that aren't true about Faith on Clubhouse. Or I like to take things from Clubhouse and spread them as rumors. And so Faith has been all over Clubhouse saying she's hitting home runs off you left and right, Molly. React?
I think that Faith hits it really hard. She doesn't hit it hard. I don't know if she's hitting any home runs, but she's trying.
That's going to be another reason she hits me in the face whenever she gets a chance. She hasn't claimed that, but some of her teammates were bragging up a couple of her bombs off your pitching here recently. So
That's
props
awesome.
to you both. Sounds like you're coming along. So
Slowly but surely.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said slowly but surely.
So real quick on you with spotting, or not even real quick, but like I played for years with Eric, and I know the kind of standards that he and I wanted spotters to live up to. And for him to tell me that you're one of the best spotters he's ever played for is I put faith behind what E10 has to say when it comes to such things. So how did you find your niche in spotting? Did you just happen to get thrown out there like most volunteers in our sport do, or was it something you wanted to do? What's your story there?
Yeah, so I obviously married into the team. I met Jonathan and we started dating and eventually got married. And
I meant to ask that when I was talking to John, if you came before or after his joining Beepball. So
After.
thank you for touching
years
on.
Yeah.
So we got married in 2013, and that was really my first World Series, but I actually wasn't spotting at that. I was just a volunteer at that World Series. And they threw me in at those practices before the 2013 in Georgia World Series, like in practice, because Renata spotted for our team, Danny's wife.
Okay.
She was spotting, but because they lived out of town and we would still have practices when they weren't here, like they needed someone on the other side.
Right.
So they just threw me in. And it's kind of funny. I actually learned to spot from Kevin Miller. He would hit the ball off the tee and he would just hold up his fingers like, what zone it was. He'd be like, and I'd go 2 and people would believe me. And so that's kind of how I learned, and kind of to see, like, I think of it as a pie, just kind of slices in a pie, what the zones are.
When I'm speaking in the community about beep baseball, I always talk about how, in my mind, we divide the field up like a pie.
Yeah, it's all about food. Like, so, but yeah, that's kind of how I learned, is him hitting it off the tee and saying it, or holding up his fingers. And then I just caught on, and I just make it fast, because if I make it fast, I'll think and I'll be wrong.
I think that's what helped her get so fast at calling, is since he would tell her what zone it is, she could see it, recognize it, and call it. And just, I think that might have helped her get quicker, being fed those numbers up front, but then using her own knowledge of the pie system that we all use, and just like gets them out so quick. It's pretty impressive. She probably won't mention it, but in Georgia, basically there was this one game they weren't going to call it, and it was pouring rain, and I didn't want to spot, so I threw her out there, and that was this game
on the other side of the field.
Yeah,
I
on the
had
opposite
spotted on that side.
So she did get the spot in the game at the
Flip the pie over.
In the rain.
Yeah, while I stood under the tent staying dry.
Look at you. You thought you were just throwing her to the wolves. She took your job.
Well, no, she spots the other side. She spots left field pretty much exclusively, and I pretty much spot right field.
Oh, okay.
And then the way we've got our other spotters set up. Holly basically spots right field and Bree spots left field. So we all kind of have our sides that we stick to, and then me and Bree are the two that'll kind of swap sides depending on who we want to give a break to. But for the most part, we try to keep our spotters on a side always, just because it's easy to get.
No, absolutely, I agree. That makes sense.
Easy to get familiar with one side and not two. That's for sure.
I gotta say, part of me's been distracted through this whole thing. I've never heard anybody say they've learned something from Kevin Miller. That's a first for me.
It's so rare.
Love you, Miller.
I've been resisting saying something like that for 5 minutes, because if we knew that was the source of the deal, I think your nickname might have been something else. Yeah. Maybe Molly. We would have called you Molly.
Hey, be careful. We keep it PG-13. Or try to. We try to.
Yeah.
Since you jumped in, Mariano, it's a good time to move over to you. Man, so Mariano, you're from Argentina, correct?
Yes, I am.
So tell the audience about, because you had a lot to do. I don't know, you might have had the entire thing to do with bringing beep baseball to Argentina. Tell the audience about that experience.
Well, I did have a lot to do with it. A few years ago, I entered into a contest to try to get money for a special project.
Yeah,
you remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't get anything. Well, I didn't get the money, but the idea stayed with me, and some people knew about the project. Rusty Wayne's mom being one of them, and after I didn't get any of that, we kept on moving forward, and then in 2019, we were not going to have to fly. I don't even, what was Tulsa 19? But we were driving.
Yeah, it was in Tulsa.
So we did well raising money. We didn't have to fly. So we had cash that we could use for something else. So we started looking into that. We were able to get good flights to go there. And my family is there, so they helped a lot with getting us transportation and a good deal on all the costs. So we were able to make it happen. And once we got all the tickets and everything secure, we started organizing everything else, and having family there made it easier to find us a place for us to stay, and organizing all the places that we were going to. And at that same time, I started working with people there that are involved in adapted sports, and to try to find basically audiences for us to go do our thing and show them. Some blind, some sighted. We went to a few universities with a bunch of students that really got very interested in the project. Then we went to a rehab center for blind people, where we encounter a lot, basically players, and so that's how everything worked out. I was able to get in touch with some media people, radio and TV, and try to promote it that way too. So it was a pretty intense week, but it was a lot of fun.
So now a couple of years later, how do you feel like it was received? Is there some development going on over there now?
Well, it was well received. The issue is that we were there in October of 19. And the idea was basically after December, that's their summer break. So everybody goes away, nobody's paying attention about anything, and everything kind of restarts in March. So the idea was to start pushing everything in March of 2020, but we got overridden by Corona. So we are still...
This little thing called a pandemic came along.
Yeah, and they are in pretty bad shape there now, but as soon as things get better and people can worry about other things, besides the virus, we'll start pushing it. I'm still staying in contact with a lot of people, but it's for sure not a priority right now, because everything right now they are shutting down until the 30th completely to see if they can get things under control. But as soon as things get better, the idea is just to keep on pushing it.
Well, props to you for like going after that and wanting to do it. But honestly, I got to say props to your team also. Like they didn't have to spend like money raised for like the World Series and stuff to help you with this project. You know what I mean? And for those that don't know, like this isn't new with the Austin Blackhawks. I could probably do a whole show on how they helped Taiwan, how they helped the Dominican Republic. Where else have you gone? San Pablo or something, Wayne?
Yeah, Kevin went up to Canada.
Yeah, we went to Canada and
Were you part of Puerto Rico? Yeah.
Yeah, that was that Joe Woods set up, but yeah, a bunch of us went over to San Juan.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Blackhawks definitely as an organization over the last 30 years really deserve a lot of credit for like doing like outreach. Austin's been in a lot of ways. The Blackhawks have been as good, if not a better outreach program than the MBBA as far as that stuff is concerned. So props to you guys. Wayne-Dayne, let's talk to you a little bit. I had some of the fellas from the Jets on last summer, and I remember talking to them. Like I thought it was a really like bold move for them to branch off and start like when they're all part of such a tradition rich organization to branch off and try to do their own thing was I thought pretty brave, even though it's when you got a Kevin Sibson in your pocket
when Kevin decided he's going to stay in San Antonio, that was pretty easy for them to
I mean, it's easier to take that kind of leap.
We're going with the pitcher. The hell with the Blackhawks.
But looking at it from the other side of the coin, I mean, the one constant in life is change. So, the run that you and your brother had with the Hawks, that the length of it, the success of it, everything is very likely going to be unmatched. So it's not like you were deprived anything, through your time with it. But what was that like for you moving on with the Hawks without your brother?
It was definitely different. Because we're used to Kevin pitching to us for 25, 30 years, and then all of a sudden he decides to move on to San Antonio, and so we're thinking, what are we going to do for a pitcher next year?
Right.
That's when we reached out to Tim Hibner, and so it was definitely different. We used to being with Kevin and being my brother.
And I can join you in speaking to how successful a team could be after you reach out to Tim Hibner and bring him on as a pitcher.
Oh yeah, he's a really good pitcher also.
Definitely. I love you, but I just started thinking about this and I start hating on you a little bit. You really, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, but you personally, Wayne, have no idea what it's like to be on a team and not have a Hall of Fame pitcher. Like I believe at the World Series, this spans over 30 something years.
Yeah, no, we've been definitely lucky to have the quality pitchers that we.
But you personally, I think, have only hit at a World Series off of Frank Medina, Kevin Sibson, and Tim Hibner.
That is true.
Dude, that makes me want to punch you in your face. That is so unfair. For all the players out there listening to this right now that have struggled to, get through a game without striking out 2 or 3 times, man, when you see Wayne, just go punch him in the face. Tell him that Neil Dog said it's okay.
He's number 11.
Yeah. Mariano doesn't want to imply people throwing any misguided haymakers.
Exactly.
No, that's pretty, man. I mean, that's lucky. That's impressive, really, considering the number of years that go
Yeah,
into.
because I remember in July of '83, and Frank called me and said, we need some help with some subs. I don't guarantee anything, but we need some subs, and would you like to go to Minnesota? And I played for him for 3 years, and then we started the Blackhawks in '86. And
real quick before I move on for that, just I get locked in sometimes on these personal interests. Were the Guzman brothers part of that team back then?
Actually, Sal was,
Okay.
and I think Johnny was also.
All right.
It was before Johnny moved to California.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew Johnny was out here in California by like '86 or so, but I don't know how much further before that he came out here. So, Coach and Molly, let's turn our attention to the 2021 Blackhawks. Well, I thought I'd break it up into kind of coaches first, and then talk to the players a little bit about the season coming up. So, from the head coach and the money spotter on the team, how are things looking with the 2021 Hawks?
Yeah, kind of like what we talked about earlier. I mean, we put a lot of focus on defense, a lot of focus on conditioning. We're very lucky to still have Mike Finn, and he comes in a few times a year and runs some pretty intense practices to work on conditioning and how to get through the week at the series. And so that's what we've always focused on, and then Tim is amazing. He'll drive in from Oklahoma anytime we ask.
Right.
And so that's kind of what our second focus is getting time with him. And Molly does pitch almost every practice just to keep the players swinging the bat, but very different cadence. I mean, everybody knows Tim's got that Oklahoma draw cadence. So, it's hard for Molly, and then Brandon Chesser's son, Brian, he also.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so him and Molly have much more similar cadences, but it gets the guys still swinging a bat,
Right.
And then obviously they have to make the adjustment when it's time to hit off with Tim. But again, big focus, defense and running and conditioning, and it proves every year we're up there in the top 2 or 3 defenses, if not the top defense every year. So, our mentality is you're going to have to score runs on us. We're going to stop you. We're going to get put out, and we're going to score with Tim pitching, we're going to score runs.
Right. We're going to have opportunity to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. We're going to have opportunities. We're going to score runs. Good. So, that's kind of our mentality is, defense first, and then we go from there. But yeah, we've got a great team this year. We hate that Danny. We still have a little hope.
Come on, Danny.
like
Yeah.
hope that
Come on.
that Danny will come back. But assuming that Danny's not there, we've got to kind of fill that center position, that center fielder role, and we think we've got a couple candidates for that we know will work really well. And so, just focusing on what we've got and maintaining our ability to compete.
I've spent a lot of time over the years poking fun at Danny about he's got a number of retirements that have come and gone so far.
Exactly. That's why we got our 10% hope still.
I actually believe him this time. He sold me. I'll be the first to admit it if I end up wrong, but he sold me on it this time. So we'll see what happens. So Molly, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, same here. The conversations we had at the Indy tournament during 2020. I agree that I think he's hanging them up for good. But again, we'll hang on to our little 10% little bit of hope we got. Go ahead, Neil.
I was going to ask you, Molly, just like, do you concur on how the defense is looking from a spotter's point of view?
I do. I mean, I love our defense. It actually is one of my favorite parts of the sport. I think the conditioning part has been fun this year in the aspect that it's probably more than we've ever done, like more running and more skipping and stuff like that. Definitely. And it's funny this year, I feel like we do it more at the end of practice. So even after they practice hard, they're still running or pulling somebody at the end of practice. I think that's been good for our defense to, just have that conditioning to last longer.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't talked to him in a while, but didn't Mike Finn, didn't he come out like in November just for like a conditioning weekend, basically, kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, every year he comes in and kind of what we call our off season, kind of a couple months after the series, he'll come out. Sometimes it's in October, sometimes November. And that's all we focus on. We don't do any defense. If we get Tim there, we'll hit still.
Right.
But if we typically don't really do much defense, it's all conditioning and what to do in the off season to keep our legs, our legs and everything, our core, just ready to go for when we do start the season in March, basically. And then he came out again this year. I guess it was mid-March, right? Yeah. So
March 20th.
That we almost entirely focused on defense Saturday. That Saturday while he was here, obviously Tim was here, so everybody hit. But then just pure focus on defense Saturday, and then the Sunday back to conditioning. So, and I think it's a good way to do it. What you get there and you work, you're tired. You get up that next day, you're tired. And what does Mike do? He works your ass off. He pushes you harder than you've been pushed. And I think it's a mentality thing too, and he really builds our players up mentally.
Yeah.
To compete through that, to work through that pain and that tiredness. And I can't thank the guy enough. I mean, he has done wonders for our players and our team, for sure.
A couple things. One thing I noticed that told me how your team is buying in is with Mike Finn is he hosts some events from time to time where he shares his wealth of knowledge on fitness and eating and all the like encyclopedia of information he has about being healthy. And I've noticed that, and they're not always like targeted for like, the blind sporting world. They're just targeting people, and a lot of the Blackhawk players are showing up and being part of that. And I think that says a lot. But I personally just can't say enough about Mike Finn as far as that goes. I mean, I love him like family anyways. That he and Nadine are always going to be family to me. But man, anybody close to him that isn't following his advice, you're just like missing out. I whether you blind people could see it or not, at 52 I look like I could play, and it's because I follow Mike's instructions on how I should be eating. Most of the time I fall off the wagon here and there. I don't tell him about all the sugar I consume at times, but I do that less and less. The workout I do is a Mike Finn workout, and I mean, I don't know. I just can't speak highly enough about the guy and what he gives for free to the Beepball world and the blind community when it comes to health and fitness. So, Mariano and Wayne, man, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the team and players. I guess from a player standpoint, how are you guys feeling? I know, in addition to Danny, I know another one of your athletes that I like, Joey Fleets, is gone. So that's two of the players that were with you in 2020 when you played at the Indy tournament. So how are you guys feeling player-wise? So you guys got all your bases covered?
I think we do. Yeah. We were trying to get some younger blood, and that doesn't apply to Danny, but he was bringing a lot of experience. We take either one. And Joe is is a lot younger too, and well, he decided to go a different way, which is fine. I think we are good. I think individually, a lot of us are working a lot more than we used to, and that makes the entire team better, and it makes our practices better. So I think we are good. We are still an older team for sure. We have some of the younger kids like Darius and Crystal. Ashley is a new player also. But the top 6-7 players, we are old. so we need to keep on working hard so that we can do well, and yeah, we need to see if we can get some younger legs.
How many of the tournaments ahead of the World Series are you guys going to be attending?
We're going to the Indy tournament the first weekend in June, and then the next weekend we'll be in Chicago.
I haven't even been following the calendar that close. So those tournaments are back-to-back weekends?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're hitting both of them. That's impressive.
Yeah, we saved a little money in 2020 since we only went to the Indy tournament. We didn't have to travel to a series.
Right.
So we felt like we could do it this year, and feel like we need the extra game time experience. You know what I mean? Just to get the rust knocked off.
It's actually the first time that we do something like this, because we usually go to Chicago, and Booker told us about their 20th year anniversary. So he invited us. We wanted to be part of that, and we were able to make it work financially. So it's going to be good, because we don't usually do the back-to-back weekends. I know some of those guys play back-to-back all the time, but we don't usually do that.
Yeah, aren't they like really like Chicago and the Indy teams? Aren't they in like such a great spot? Well, I guess you guys are too in Texas, because like the Texas teams, you're able to get a lot more games in. But I actually look at both those areas, like that Midwest area or whatever, where with the Chicago and the Indy teams, and then you guys with San Antonio and Houston, Fort Worth, like
Tyler and.
You guys have no idea what it's like to live in an area where there aren't two teams. You know what I mean? to have that opportunity to play, like I think it's great when players get that much time playing. The one thing I would think is kind of a downer of the two tournaments being so close, especially with the Indy tournament being the first tournament. Like, I personally, like as a player or a coach, would like to play one tournament and then go home and kind of work on the things, you know what I mean? Because you don't know what's not clicking or what's not clicking well enough till you're actually out there under fire.
Have a weekend in between.
Yeah. It'd be nice for you guys if you were able to go home and work on some things, then hit the other one. But hey, get to play tournaments 2 weekends in a row. I'm envious. So props to you. I'll be looking forward to listening to them.
Well, yeah, and with Ames, that little series tournament.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, some of those teams are going to play like 4 or 5 tournaments before the series. There's going to be a lot of teams ready to go for the series this year for sure, because of the extra tournaments. But yeah, we're hoping to be able to get a couple scrimmages, like you had said, with San Antonio, maybe Houston, or one of the Dallas teams or whatever. But we're really hoping in the next couple of years, BCS will get their tournament going again. San Antonio possibly gets tournament going again, and then we've been working for like 2 or 3 years now trying to get fields acquired to have a tournament here, but just hadn't panned out quite yet. And then obviously the pandemic. So but yeah, we really are lucky. And then Tyler has their thing in October, for breast cancer awareness that we get to go. And that's kind of one of my favorite little tournaments to get our newer players at, because there's no pressure. It's all fun. You know, we're playing on turf fields, a turf football field. So
I didn't know that.
The ball's like a rocket coming out of there. It's like, hey, just go out there, have fun. If you get a put out, you get a put out. If you score a run, you score a run. You know, it's just have fun. So, we are pretty lucky to be in Texas and have so many good teams too. I mean, every one of the teams is competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's really important too.
Yeah, you mentioned that tournament that Tyler hosts. We like not too long ago had Larry Reed on the show, and he talked about that. And that was, even though I've known they did that tournament, like hearing him talk about it in detail and how like they released the balloons and all that, that was so touching. I feel like getting choked up now. So. I don't know. I love that. I plan to, Seth and I, we want to have them back on ahead of that tournament and talk it up, because I don't know. I think that's special. I like it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's really good. It's really good. And they have so many, it's crazy. They have so many like family members that have been touched by breast cancer and stuff. So like I said, it is pretty touching and very personal for their team for sure.
I love it. Well, everybody, that's really all I have. Is there any other stuff that any of you feel like Blackhawk info that you want to get out there? Anything that you think our audience needs to know?
One thing I was thinking about when you were talking about Wayne always playing with Kevin, a lot of us inherited that too. Because when I started playing in 01, Kevin was there also. So a lot of us here in Austin have been very lucky, not only us players, but people like John and Molly and everybody else that at some point was new to the game. We ran into the Sibsons, and that's a pretty special thing for Beepball. And it does we are very lucky, because we can see other teams always having issues, and then on top of that, with the two brothers, we get Rusty, which helps with all the organizational part of it too. So it's always we do a lot of work, but I know a lot of teams that do a lot of work too, and they still cannot get it done because they just can't. Not enough people, not enough resources, whatever. And we've been lucky to be able to enjoy all of that.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I'm really glad you touched on that, Mariano, because it would probably be really easy for some, like in the Austin area, to take that for granted. But the combination of Wayne and Kevin and their mom, Rusty, like kept that program going for so long. And not every area, so few of the areas where beat baseball is going on have that kind of a long-term successful commitment. And so I think it would be real easy for people that have never lived anywhere else and don't know how easy it is for a team to just disappear because you don't have the right combination of people or opportunity, you know. So I'm glad you touched on that, because
it is true. And this is going to be the 35th year for the Blackhawks. So it is pretty insane, and I'm glad it is like that. It makes things a lot easier for all of us coming after them.
Go ahead, Coach. Jump in there.
I was just gonna say, I mean, we didn't really mention it, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in a team like this, a team that has so much outreach and everything. But you can't say enough about Rusty. And I know we give Miller a hard time, but
he's been volunteering as long as I've been alive.
That dude is like the greatest volunteer ever. For real.
Yeah.
And then
he is not only he helps, but he takes all the abuse and then he keeps coming back.
We got to give him that. Miller has taken abuse, not just from your team. Look, he hasn't seen me in 12 years, and I attacked him right out of the gates. So, you know, and he keeps coming back. He's there for the sport. He's no quitter.
Yeah, he fixes everything, man. He fixes our bases, our tents, our benches. Like, it's just insane how awesome that guy is. And then when I first started, man, I played baseball and little league, junior high, all those things. I didn't really play in high school, but I played football, and I met two of the most competitive people I've ever met in Kevin and Kenny, man. And it drove that team those first few years that I was on the team. And yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a blessing to be a part of the Blackhawks.
You know, a story about Miller. So in 1990, the Hawks won their 7 in a row from 92 to 98. And in 99, the Hawks and the Dogs played in the undefeated game on Friday. And we go out to the field on Friday, and like always, there's nobody from the Hawks there except for Miller sitting over on the bench on the first baseline to make sure that they get the baseline they want. And Seth and I went over, picked up the bench, and carried him off, told him we were going to take that side of the field. Our teammates didn't have the backbone to back us up on it, so they ended up getting their side of the field, and they ended up getting their ass whooped. But
Beep. Yeah, we got Miller in 1988, and he's been around ever since.
No, he's no quitter. That dude's a trooper. A good, there are some people in beat baseball that are just part of the fabric because they never stop giving, and you gotta put Miller in there.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Definitely.
That's the reason he won that Jim Quinn Award for sure.
Hey, so
that also brings up people like Miller and the Sibsons and Rusty bring up other people because John and Molly are becoming the new of them. Let's say Kenny when he came out, and he's back in. So Bree has been with us for a while too. So a lot of people kind of follow that culture. We have people that either stick around or they don't come out at all. I don't remember too many people that came out just once. So either they love us or they hate us.
That's kind of the way this sport is, you know what I mean? I mean, just like when John, you opened telling how you found it, it's like, I came out once and I asked if I could come back. And that's usually how it happens. We're like heroin. We just
Oh yeah, it is pretty addictive. Yeah.
I did want to ask you, since we talked about Brandon Chesser, his son pitching and Molly pitching. So for either of you, Molly, or for anybody to answer, is this like the future of the Hawks with one or both of you? I mean, good Lord, Tim's like 106 years old.
Let's not put that many extra years on it. But yeah, I mean, obviously we've told Tim more than once, we are dedicated to him being our pitcher. And that's the stance we continue to take because, I mean, Molly and Brian have both come a long way since they started pitching 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't even know. It's been about 5 years. They've come a long way, but I mean it's impressive what Tim can do at his age, what he can still get up and hit the bats like he does. So at some point we do have to kind of start grooming the future, and I think that's what we're doing with Molly and Brian. And what's cool is on those weekends when they're both there, Brian's young. He still plays, baseball competitively at, I don't know what division he's in or if he's in high school yet, but so I think he plays for high school. But so, he can't always make it out to practice, but when they do, we try to have like little games between him and Molly's to make it competitive and put some pressure on them. And I think if we continue to do that, when Tim, if Tim ever decides to hang up that, we'll have some folks ready to go is the plan.
Tim ain't going anywhere. I'll start a new team. I'll let Tim retire.
We do try to, we try to get Molly and Brian in a game or half a game during the series just to give Tim a little break earlier in the week to try to help him get through, be as fresh as possible on Friday. So, and we'll continue to do that because I really do think it makes a difference to get him a little rest during the early part of the week.
I had no intention on throwing this out here, and I'm not smart enough not to, but Wayne and Mariano, I guess after listening to all this, I gotta say, if there's a divorce between mom and dad, I think you guys gotta stick with mom. I'm just gonna go on the record.
Molly, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I know my head coaching role would be over pretty soon. I'd be an umpire. I'm not leaving Beepball, that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. I've certainly had fun hanging out with my boy Wayne after all these years. I always love seeing Mariano. Great to get to know the Flemings a little bit. So thank you so much, you guys, for taking time doing this. It's been a good time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
My pleasure. I will be listening to the games, and don't forget, Molly, that you get good play-by-play. I remember the first message I had to send Molly because I was listening to a game, and she apologized for her play-by-play. I was like, that was the best play-by-play your stream had all day. Don't apologize. She just gives you what's going on the screen, no nonsense, and that that's what I'm looking for. So I appreciate your play-by-play too, Molly.
Thank you.
Don't hesitate to get on there. All right, everybody, we will be back. Hopefully Seth Dog will be able to join us next week. He had all kinds of family obligations today, but it is my plan not to miss a single Sunday between now and the end of the World Series. So I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we're going to do it right here with you. So please join us. Be well until then. Thank you, Mr. Frank Porter, for your help. And we will see you next week. Good night, Aunt Cindy.
Hi, Aunt Cindy.
Good night, Sandy.